Welcome to the Teaching Journeys podcast, hosted by Dave Roberts. Humanity possesses a unique skill, the ability to pass knowledge from one generation to the next. This podcast embraces that ability, offering learning opportunities through conversations with extraordinary guests. Dave aims to leave a positive mark on individuals around the world. So before you dive into today's episode, please share this podcast with your network, including friends, family, and colleagues. And please consider leaving a rating or review. Your support makes all the difference.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Teaching Journeys podcast. I'm your host, Dave Roberts, and today it is my pleasure to have as my guest Dr. Cornelia Kawann. Dr. Kawann is an executive in the Swiss electricity regulator and the founder of Energy On. During her corporate career, she was working at the Lawrence Berkeley Laboratory and has held various management positions in several energy companies in Europe, all while founding two startups. She stems from an Austrian family of entrepreneurs, which is why building companies and problem solving is in her DNA. As a personal energy strategist, Cornelia empowers ambitious entrepreneurs and businesses to reach their goals through energy management and energetic business strategies. She explains to her clients the world of quantum physics and shows them how to manage their energy to reaching their goals and to transform not only their lives, but their businesses. As a public speaker and author of Change Your Energy, Change Your Life, Cornelia's mission is to make the simplicity and magic of personal energy management popular. Cornelia, welcome to the Teaching Journeys podcast. I've been looking forward to speaking with you for some time now.
Oh, thank you so much, Dave, for having me. And I really need to point this out. That you're the first person you ever read my bio to me. So I really feel very humble now. And thank you so much. It's a brand new experience for me. Thank you.
Well, you're welcome, man. I know when I've been on other podcasts and I hear my bio, it's like, who are they talking about? Is that really me?
It,
And yeah, and it's a humbling experience to hear your accomplishments being read and something I don't take for granted. So,
I really
um,
appreciate it that you, made this special experience now possible for me. So, yeah, it's good. And I would really like to say also energy on to your amazing audience. And I'm really ready now to share all my energy hacks and ideas with you now.
and I'm anxious for you to do that. But before we begin, I have to throw some kudos out to Portia Booker. Portia introduced us. I know you were on her podcast. She reached out to me and said, I think Dr. Kwan would be a great guest for your show. We had a wonderful pre chat, and we find ourselves today doing a podcast. And you are my first guest from Switzerland.
Oh, wow. Oh, yeah, so many first times at this podcast. Yeah, so greetings all over the Atlantic from Switzerland. And yeah, we are really nice to be connected.
Yeah, and the wonders of Zoom and the internet and video chats now, the world seems to be a smaller place when we can communicate like this. So, my first question for you is please tell our listeners about the experiences or experience that have shaped your life path and your life passions today.
Oh, that's a big question to start off. But, you know, I'm an energy maniac. And I know this sounds a little bit weird, but it's it started quite early. When I was about 4 years old, that's when I remember, I was always so impressed when my mom kind of plugged in a vacuum cleaner or a mixer and then she just pressed this tiny button and then all of a sudden this magic happened. And I always wanted to know what's this power that is in this socket? Where does it come from? And so one afternoon, I was strolling around in the garden and then I found, do I have it here? Yes. It always with me to remind me. I found this. This was a long nail. And so I took it and then I sneaked back into my room and I thought, now I'm going to find out what's in this socket. And I put the nail into the socket. So something I wouldn't recommend anybody doing, right? I didn't think that far at that time. And the next time, what I remember was that I was lying then on the back in the room. My mom was bending over me and she was really worried. And luckily, the security system was faster than me, but nevertheless, I was hit. And that was kind of this moment that really shaped my life because I thought, wow, this is so powerful. I really want to know what it is and how it gets into the socket. And that was the reason why I studied electrical engineering. And I can tell you now, I do know how electricity gets into the socket and how it works. So that was kind of the main experience that brought me on my energy way. And and I really enjoyed it too, because now also with this energy crisis going on in Middle East, with all these gas and impact. So energy is really more a crucial part of our life, our social life. It really breaks down if there is no electricity. You can't even pump your gas. You can't even go to the shop. You can't get money from the ATM. Nothing works.
Absolutely. And if the internet is down, and that's powered by a lot of electricity, we lose contact with our loved ones who may be across the other parts of the country, across the world. We can't do our work because everything now is online. So we rely a lot on electricity. And I think we take it for granted until we don't have it.
Exactly. As with so many other things as well.
And I know you did the transition from traditional science, and I know engineering is very much science-based, very evidence-based. You did the transition from traditional science to energy healing. Was it a smooth transition, or were there bumps along the way that you can recall? My guess, if I were to guess, Cornelia, there was a lot of resistance to you making that transition, particularly from your science-based colleagues.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I think there was a lot of bumps on the way. And I was really kind of a full-hearted scientist. And for a very long time, I was living with the Newton's law, Newton's world, in a way saying everything you can't see, everything you can't touch, and everything you can't measure, it doesn't exist.
Yep.
And that was my world. And I was really very active in the energy industry. It was really successful. And I also had my family. And then something happened because the energy industry is a very male dominated world. And there are not so many women there. And it was very hard to succeed. You always had to give 150% to even being noticed. You always said more, more, more. And there was one moment I couldn't give any more because I got really sick. And the way the traditional medicine outlined to me, I just felt this is not the right way for me. And then being an engineer, I knew there are always more solutions to one problem. I just need other solutions, need to find them. And that's when I started listening to podcasts, reading books sooner. And then later I discovered quantum science, and there it really made click, because everybody may say, quantum science. No. And in a way, it's not academic or it's not scientific, it's real life. And it just says in a nutshell, everything is just energy and has a frequency. And that made so much sense to me. I know as an electric engineer, I know what energy is and I know what frequencies are. And so I just thought about every thought is just a frequency. Every virus, every bacteria, it's just a frequency, every emotion. And I realized that I thought, wow, this is something I can work with. It's just frequencies. And that's how I started working with my own energy, with my frequencies. And people started noticing, you look differently, you act differently, what are you doing? And so that's how I got started with my energy business. And I call myself now a personal energy strategist, and showing people how they can manage not their time, but their energy.
And the distance between evidence-based approaches and not evidence-based approaches isn't as long as we think. because I think the world is embracing and is preparing for a transition where you're going to be seeing integrative philosophies. There's going to be evidence-based versus not evidence-based practices integrating together to help improve well-being. If individuals view non-evidentiary practices as spiritual practices, those are going to integrate nicely with science. And, the research on yoga, on meditation, and acupuncture, they all have research-based studies that have shown that it improves overall well-being, both physically and mentally. And I think there's room for both. I was talking to somebody today, Cornelia. Two things can be right at the same time. We can have quantum physics here, we can have science-based physics here, and it both works. It's just in terms of how we choose to look at that. And if we're open enough to take a look and see how both of those can work in a synergistic fashion to improve somebody's quality of life.
That's so true. And I think there is no real truth, at least not the way I see the world, because I think we all have our personal filters, like beliefs, thoughts, the way we are our pattern, the way we are programmed and imprinted. So we look at the same thing, but we're all seeing something completely different. And so there are 8 billion different worlds around. And as you said, the magic happens when you just allow that everybody is allowed to have his or her own world, and you just accept that and see, that this other person for her own reason sees it like this, and this is okay as well.
Absolutely. How we see the world, it's going to be different for everybody. How we see behavior, how we see outcomes are going to be different for everybody. But I think sometimes there's a rush to judgment when we look at, well, your way of conceptualizing this isn't right. Well, how do you know that? Before you can make a decision about whether you think not even whether it's right or wrong, but whether you can align with that, you need to be able to listen to how the person got there. How did you come up to this conclusion? What resources did you explore? What have been some of the other personal experiences of your clients that have contributed to you coming to this conclusion? If you look at a phenomenon like near-death experiences, you can't scientifically validate whether somebody died and left their body and then came back in because they were told it wasn't their time to die. But the only thing you can do is do a phenomenological study where you can ask specific questions, take a look at the data and see if there are patterns that fit. There are consistent patterns that are consistent experiences that have been had across near-death experiences. And if those patterns are consistent, those behaviors are consistent, those experiences are consistent, who's to say it isn't real?
Exactly. Fully with me. And on my side, in a way, I noticed that when I started working with or experimenting with my own energy, that there are so many similarities between electric energy and our personal energy. And that also helped me a lot to apply what I knew from my scientific work and in the work I worked with my personal energy. And so that was the interesting shift for me. And I can explain people things that I'm doing or things that are shifting more based on physics, and then people understand it more. Yeah.
Can you speak to the similarities between electrical energy and our personal energy?
Yeah. For me, because the first thing most people don't or deny is that we do have energy. And the thing here is that when we look at our body, so when we look at let's go back to biology class. Yes, there's no test afterwards. But if we go back to biology class, there are these small cells. And then we have, if you remember, we have this nucleus. And then we have the cell membrane, which is around. And the voltage, there's a millivolt voltage between the cell membrane and the nucleus, because this voltage kind of keeps the tension in the cell, so it's kind of alive. And this, in a really healthy cell, this is about minus 70 millivolts. Like a cancer cell, you can measure that. A cancer cell only has about minus 10 millivolts. So then that's why these cells are shrinking. They can't keep the size of the cell. And that's why they are kind of sucking off the energy from all the other cells. And that makes us sick. And so we do have this millivolts in our body. And on the other side, now, especially in Europe, it's very en vogue to talk about your nervous system. Like it's about regulating your nervous system wherever you go, nothing else. But most people don't understand what's nervous system. Nervous system, in a way, is the way how our brain communicates with our organs, with our limbs, with our fingers, and how we can move and all this. But if you really look at it from an electrical point of view, it's just milliampere. There are little currents flowing continuously through our body. So if we do have millivolt and milliampere in our body, we are just kind of a walking battery. And if you have any electronic device like your mobile phone or your computer, when you go back to physics, whenever there is an electronic device, there's an electromagnetic field around it. And some people are even sensitive to their phones. They put it far away so that it doesn't interfere with their body and they can feel it. So if we believe that in our mobile phone, there are chips with millivolts and milliampere and there's an electromagnetic field around it, why is it so difficult to understand that we have millivolts and milliamperes in our body as well? And of course, we do have an electromagnetic field around us as well. And if you start managing this electromagnetic field around you, that's when really kind of things change.
Yeah, it makes sense because we're all energy. And I was even thinking as you were talking, sometimes that when I'll touch something, like even a piece of laundry or something, I'll get a little bit of a shock sometimes. And it tells me, well, geez, I got some energy going through my body. So it's just a matter of understanding that and learning how to manage it. And I know there's a lot of people I've talked to who are very energy sensitive. They're empathic and they take in a lot of everybody else's energy to the point where they just get totally run down, like that battery that you were talking about. When you do energy work with somebody, what is your approach? I mean, do you run into a lot of individuals who just say, geez, I'm just run down. I've been holding so many other people's energy that I just can't manage my own, or are there other challenges that your clients present to you?
The most clients come to me when they really have an energy problem. So I have two steps approach. Like the first step is to really make sure they can manage their actual, most of the time, their physical energy, because we don't have only one energy. We have different layers. We have like a physical energy, and then we have an energetic and emotional energy, a mental, and also a spiritual energy. And our physical energy, of course, is the most fundamental, because if we physically don't feel well, then life is just not that much fun. Whereas many people might avoid talking about spiritual energy, it's still woo-woo or whatever. But for me, it's kind of the most essential energy, because spiritual energy in a way is for me really knowing your purpose and you love what you're doing. And when you really love what you're doing, you're kind of generating this intrinsic energy. You're your own power plant. You're producing this energy because you're really enjoying what you're doing. And that's why I think it's so important. Many people don't have that. And coming back now so my first step is, I call it the energy survival kit. So it has 4 steps to really make sure that they kind of start increasing their physical energy. And then you can start working on the other layers. And the physical, these 4 steps in a way, is awareness, so that you are aware who or what is draining my energy and who or what is giving me energy. And most people don't know. They don't observe. They don't realize that after talking to a certain person, right, they feel completely drained. They don't make the connection that the energy is taken by somebody else. It can be also a task. And then I show people how they can clean their energy. What do you mean? Most people laugh about it, but I think it's a funny story. But just a question to you. So I assume You brush your teeth twice a day, you wash your hairs, you take a shower, and we all do. We are all taking care of our physical body. But most people don't take care of their energy body. And what do I mean with this? You mentioned it before, like they pick up energy from other people. Now we're kind of, we're in the Zoom call and you're across the Atlantic. But if we would do it like this call in the studio and sitting next to each other, let's imagine we have like this 2 meter energy body around us. You have your 2 meters and I have my 2 meters, and we're sitting next to each other. What's going to happening?
Our energy is probably going to do one of two things. Our energy is going to mesh, or and we're going to be attracted to each other's energy, or we just might not feel aligned and we are going to back off. So those would be the two things that I would see.
Okay. Well, I think if you look at from a physical point is like, let's assume just for the thought of simplicity, that it's like gas. So if you sit next to each other, these energies will mingle. And there is nothing we can do about it, right? It's just happening because atoms and these, they're just mingling. Like with gas, you can't separate it.
Yeah.
And so after the interview, I would get up and I would leave and you would stay here. But it depends that sometimes you could pick up some from my energy or some emotions or some thought. And for others, it happens the same. It can happen when you're in the bus or at the cashier in the supermarket. It can be from any person. And that's why it's so important that you clean your energy before you go to bed. Because if you don't, you take these foreign energies and thoughts and emotions into your sleep. And then are people wondering that they don't sleep very well because they're not sleeping with their own energy. They have thoughts and from other people with them. And that's why I think it's so important to show them how to clean their energy. And the third pillar, in a way, then how you recharge it. I have a lot of exercises where you can recharge in 3 minutes. You can go to any restaurant, do this exercise, even when you're in the office, and you can recharge your energy. And the fourth one, and I think this is especially important for sensitive people, and this is setting energetic boundaries.
Yes.
And here you're really saying, you're claiming your space. Hey, me is not ending here. Me is ending here. This is me. And when you really do this exercise in the morning and claim your space, you will feel that people react completely different to you. You feel safe and protected, and other people, they will feel, okay, there is a boundary. And what I learned before from many female clients is that because women that have the tendency, they have difficulties in saying no. But if you have this buffer around you, people have they're not so tempted to ask you, can you do that for me? Because they feel there's a resistance. And so it's so much easier if nobody asks, then you don't even have to say no. And that's what I've noticed. So these are these 4 pillars for the starter kit. And then you work on the other layers afterwards.
And, I like the fact that you said that there's some really quick things that you could show a client. I'm thinking I have a friend of mine who's certified in energy psychology, and she's worked with my classes where she showed just some very quick techniques that you could do to set energetic boundaries, to clean your energy, to clean off any negativity you may have had for the day. So, yeah, I mean, when you were talking about some very quick and easy techniques that you can teach clients, that's kind of where my head went to the work that she does.
I think it's very cool because, yeah, we're all very busy and time is always precious. And that's why, and for me as well, I have two teenage daughters. I have my corporate job. I have my own business and so many ideas. So it needs to be quick.
Yep. Yeah. But you're right. I mean, a lot of times we take care of our physical selves, but we don't think about our energetic self. We just keep pushing and pushing and pushing. And then until the point where we realize that either we're a little tired, we're a little fatigued, we're a little irritable, and that should be signs that our self-care needs to be addressed. Let's talk about frequencies for a minute. What are they? How do they influence our beliefs? How do they affect our well-being?
Yeah, then the next layers. And what I think I said it also when we spoke earlier is that every emotion and every thought has its own frequency. And let's if you look at the frequencies, there is the scale from Dr. David Hawkins, and he found out that some emotions are very low vibrating.
Yep.
And some are very high vibrating. And the lowest vibrating is guilt and shame. And higher frequency, of course, are then courage and joy and love. Then you have enlightenment and so on. And you know what I figured out, and I think it's the same with our thoughts, right? Sometimes we have like this vicious circle, we are thinking the same thoughts all the time. And so we are vibrating then on this frequency. And what I've noticed, because you mentioned also before meditating, I noticed two things. The first thing is mindset work. And I started doing mindset work at the beginning, but then I noticed you have this limiting belief, and then you're overriding it with a positive belief. And this was kind of against my engineer nature, because underneath still the original belief is there, and it doesn't solve the problem. Why is this limiting belief in my life in the first place? So there is a reason for that, and I need to find the reason and work there.
Yes.
So that's why I thought I need to work there directly at the energies and not with my mindset. It's just the frequency. I can change that. And what I also noticed is, because I at the beginning also did a lot of meditation, but what I've noticed is, okay, you're meditating and then you're definitely increasing your energy and your frequency, and you feel, yeah, that's the goal of it. But what I've noticed as well, then after some time, when I'm out of this meditation, I will fall back to the original frequency. And that's what I worked on to figure out why is that. And also other scientists like Dr. Joe, and then they came up with walking meditations, because they figured out, yeah, there is a problem. You always fall backwards. And that's why how I see it is, yes, you can increase your frequency and your energy, but if you really want to change it sustainably on long term, you need to remove, in a way, you need to increase your ideal frequency, your personal frequency. You need to remove those frequencies from your system. Because the way I see the world is that we are born with our very unique frequency. This is you, this is your soul frequency, this is you. And then when we brought up all these events, beliefs, things that are happening there on top of it, and by the age of 18, you think this residual frequency that is there, this is you. But it's not you. This is like a result of everything that happened before. And my goal is, in a way, the more you remove these frequencies that are not you from your personal frequency, the more you're increasing, in a way, your frequency, and you're coming back to your original frequency. And then less you need to work on it to increase it, because it's then already naturally high. If you remove all the burden, then you don't need to meditate or whatever, or when you meditate, then you stay longer on this level.
Yeah, it makes sense. And he mentioned the lower frequency emotions like guilt and shame. I mean, that for individuals who've experienced loss, guilt and shame are things that they deal with on a continual basis, particularly early grief. And a lot of times they might ask, particularly if they want or believe in signs for their loved ones, well, why am I not getting a sign? I would think lower frequency energy kind of dulls intuition anyway. And I think we have to have our vibrational levels up to be able to think more intuitively. And I remember, like, well, my emotions have been at higher frequency when I've experienced joy, when I've experienced happiness. A lot of good things happen to me for that day because my frequency attracted like frequency. And if I'm operating at a lower frequency level, I'm probably going to attract or gravitate to experiences that are going to match that. So I think the work that you do to help individuals kind of operate at productive frequency levels and change their frequency levels are going to be, I think, key to improve quality of life and consistent engagement in living.
And it's exactly what you're saying. It's kind of like these low energy people and high energy people. And what I've noticed with all my clients, when you have more energy, as you're already saying, is that you perceive life so much easier because you don't see problems, you see solutions and opportunities. And the reason is because when you're on a low level energy, you only see like the next day. Most of the time it's repetitive and long to-do lists. And when you're a high energy person, your system shows you solutions and opportunities because your system knows you do have the energy to execute them. And that's what I've noticed. If you don't have the energy to do anything, most of the time, your own system, you don't even see these solutions because you don't have the energy to do them anyway.
That's right. Yeah, I think a low frequency, it's about just getting through that day and just surviving that day, as opposed to finding any solutions to any problems or looking at problems as opportunities. So, but yeah, I know when my energy frequencies have been high, when my energy's been high, I've attracted a lot of good things in my life. And when it's been low, it calls in, for lack of a better way to put this, negative experiences. So,
Exactly. It's exactly like this. And we all have like these low energy days and high energy days. But my goal is to have definitely many, many, many more high energy days than low energy days.
yeah, and it's not about perfection, right? It's just having more of the good and less of the bad.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I saw this on your LinkedIn profile. Energy is the new leadership skill. Can you elaborate on that a little more?
Oh, yeah. Reason why, yeah, I'm also doing leadership coaching and coaching in the corporate world. And what I have noticed is that now with this really, we're constant in crisis. We have like the financial crisis, we had Corona, we had the energy crisis. Now there's another energy crisis coming and many other things. And there are so many new things like AI, everything is changing. And this continuous change. And what I've noticed is that for on one side, it's difficult to adapt to this constant change if you don't have enough energy. But on the other side, I realize if you're really a leader or leading your team, you need to have other skills. Because what worked for a long time, what was okay, you had for a long time, doesn't work now in these really very volatile times. And what I've noticed, and also with younger people in my team, they really people wanna feel you. They wanna feel it in your energy. What do you stand for? Who you are? What is your vision? What is your mission? What do you really want? And even what are your weaknesses? What are your strengths? They really want to know who are you? And they don't want to see any mask or whatever. They will feel it in your energy, and your energy never lies. And that's why I think it's so important that you're authentic with your energy, and you can't fake it anyway. But the stronger your energy is, people will follow you, and you set up, they will be inspired and motivated by your energy and the way you lead your team and what you're going for, what's your goal, and they will follow you. And I've seen that with my team is because I just did it for my team, and then I started analyzing why people were changing and how the whole situation changed. And then I understood that, yeah, there is really a connection, an energetic connection, and they enjoy coming to work, they enjoy their work, and they enjoy what they do, and they enjoy working with me. And it's just because with my energy, I created this space, this safe space where they can, and my task is in a way just to make sure to hold the space that they can be their best.
Yeah. Yeah, and if we can create safe spaces for individuals to just be their authentic selves, to be vulnerable and and trust being vulnerable, I think we're going to have more productive workplaces. We're going to have happier employees, and we're going to have less turnover. And I think when I was hearing you talk about the new trends in leadership, it is about authenticity. So what do you stand for? What's your mission? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? And I can imagine for traditional leaders, that has to be a scary proposition because I was raised with you always come from a position of strength. Well, leadership isn't always about a position of strength. It's about a position of relatability, and it's about authenticity.
Yeah, exactly. And it's also about empathy also. They know that they can really come and we can speak about everything and there's always a solution, right? And it's also a lot about trust. And I think it's also very important.
Yeah, absolutely, because those are the values that are going to build sustainable workplaces.
And the interesting thing is just that I didn't even notice. I just noticed, wow, this is an incredible, amazing team I have here. And we had so much fun. And then, like, other leaders from other departments think, or even my boss again, what are you doing, right? Because now it's kind of our group, we're kind of the role model now for the others. And that's when the first time, because for me it was really natural. I just wanted to make that they can thrive because then you're definitely at your best.
Absolutely, and positive energy, that vibe tends to permeate throughout the organization. Everybody's going to say, "Well, what are you doing? I want some of that," and it's like contagious, and that's a good type of contagious.
Yeah, the fun thing is that the energy in our offices is so high that other people sometimes are even coming like in a wellness retreat to getting some or recharging their batteries and they go back to their offices.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's interesting. I've had people say, "I want to sit in that person's energy for a while." That we've had this conversation, it gives me more context in terms of what that actually means.
Yeah.
So, I want to ask you about your book, Cornelia. Change Your Energy, Change Your Life. What do you want readers to take away from it?
Okay. Yeah, I even have it here. And it's just also this wave, it's kind of a frequency and it shows that you're after reading this book it starts here, right? And then it goes up and it even changes the color and everything. So it's a transformation. And the idea in a way was I never wanted to write a book. But I noticed that it was in the beginning of 2023, people kind of came to me and said, "Oh, you should write it down. You should write a book." And I said, "Oh, I'm not going to write a book." But then it came from so many sides. So I decided, okay, let's write this book. And my mission with this book in a way is to show, because I was there for a very long time as well. We are so focused on managing our time. Time is we only have this 24 hours per day. And you're always kind of running behind and trying to catch time or to outsmart time or to cram more into the same time. And the moment when I started change that and I started putting my focus on my energy and start managing my energy, I noticed that I could do more things in the same time without feeling stressed or overwhelmed because I'm doing many things also with a different energy and I get easier solution. And then I just thought I want to share this with as many people as possible. And the book itself has 39 of these 3 minutes exercises. And it really shows you how you can work on all these 5 different levels and how you can increase the energy there. And what is so important for me is, and I think this is also the future, it's about empowerment.
Yeah.
Because it's not about me. And I want you to give all the tools, and it's kind of a starter kit. Use it to start with managing your energy, but make it your own. Change the words, combine exercises, or make your completely new one. It's about you, and it's not about me, and it's not about the book. It's about that you feel better, and that's what the book is about.
We'll make sure that the link to the book is also included in the episode notes when we go live. So, Cornelia, you've left us with so much good stuff today, but I've got a couple more questions for you before we conclude. The first is, if you're going to leave our listeners with one ultimate takeaway today, one ultimate teaching, what would that be?
Yes, it would be your personal energy is your most valuable currency, and decide wisely what you're trading it for.
Yeah, that's direct, to the point, and very profound. Our energy is our own, and it's like you said, let's use it wisely.
Every thought you're thinking or every emotion you're feeling, everything you're doing, you're trading your energy for it. And I think it's just good to create this awareness. Okay, yeah, I want to feel this emotion or I want to do this, but that you're aware, okay, now I'm trading it for it. The more you're aware of this, is my value and my precious energy really, do I really want to spend it on this?
Well, and also how negative thinking just drains our energy. I mean, I've talked to individuals in the past who have had really high anxiety or they've really done excessive worry about a situation they had no control over. And they invested so much energy in that worry that when they realized that they were worrying for nothing, they just got tired immediately and you could just see them crash because investing in that extreme level of emotion just totally drained their reservoir of energy. And then you could see that you could just see the crash.
Yeah, I think this is so true. And I think that if you have a lot of energy, it also increases your resilience. And for me, I think it's always so important to ask myself, if there's something happening, can I do something to change that?
Yes.
And if I can't, I'm not investing any energy in it because, yeah, as you said, it just drains you. And I put my energy where I really can make a change or a difference. And there are some things you can't change.
Yep, absolutely. Cornelia, if people want to get in touch with you, contract for your services, purchase your book, what's the best way for them to do that?
Oh, the heaven is coming to my homepage now. No, the magic is, it's just corneliakawann.com. And there you can even book complimentary half an hour personal energy strategy session where we can look into, you come with a problem, we look into your energy, and then I show you what you can do to get out of there.
It sounds good. Again, I'll make sure your personal contact information gets in the episode notes before we go live. So with that, Cornelia, thank you so much for just a delightful conversation today. I truly enjoyed it, and I hope we can have future conversations.
Oh, Dave, thank you so much for having me, for all your questions and your interest in this topic. I highly appreciate it. And I thank you. A lot of regards to your fantastic audience, and they are fantastic because they are following your podcast, they are listening to your advice. So I congratulate you to this amazing show. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for your kind words, Cornelia. And with that, that's a wrap on another episode of the Teaching Journeys podcast. I'm your host, Dave Roberts, wishing you peace.